Hello everyone and welcome yet again to another episode of Lunch Guide. I'm your regular host Chef Andy, and today we are going to be doing something really simple. We're going to be making farmer's beans and we're going to be pairing that with some pasta. We are going to start by introducing the ingredients before us today to give you a general idea of what you require for this recipe. So right from the very front, in the red bowl, we've got some baked beans. We've also got one large pepper there, about 2 pieces of carrot. I'm also going to be working with some oregano, some thyme, some chili flakes, some paprika powder, some minced garlic and minced ginger. You're also going to require 1 white onion, 2 red medium-sized onions, some parsley there, a few poppadoms. You're also going to require some fresh leeks and some spaghetti, number 5 particularly, and some salt and pepper to taste. And last but not least, you're also going to require some fresh coriander. Now we're going to take a short break, allowing you some time to get your pens and papers, and when you come back, we're going to dive right into it. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you missed out on the introduction, we've introduced the dish of the day. We're going to be making some farmer's beans, a very simple dish you can actually incorporate even in your breakfast. And we're going to be pairing that particularly with some pasta, giving you an option of a beautiful lunch dish for you and your family. So we're going to start off firstly by heating up a pan. And to that we're going to add some olive oil. About a tablespoon should do, and proceed to allow your pan to heat up. Now, particularly with farmer's beans, I'm going to be working with a very simple recipe that I learned in South Africa, a very simple and easy one as well. We're going to be incorporating some vegetables into it. So this is basically a way of actually bulking up your beans, or actually giving it a bit of a lift, especially if you're going to be serving it for lunch, or actually as an accompaniment or as a main to another dish. So we're going to be doing a very simple one today. Remember, you're not limited to use the ingredients I'm using today. If you do have your own recipes or ingredients you could incorporate, don't feel shy to do so. So just quickly, to start us off, begin by moving your pan around, allowing your oil to coat the base of the pan. And you can now proceed to add some garlic, about a teaspoon, and a teaspoon as well of some fresh ginger. Now you can opt to chop your ginger or mince it. It won't really make a difference, but I will recommend, if you're going to be making something like beans, you may want to really mince your ginger really fine, because remember, you don't really want to bite into that really potent chunks in your beans. Right, so just mix everything together in the pan and proceed to allow your garlic and ginger to get some color. Allow it to keep frying until it's golden brown, and proceed to start chopping your red onions. So we're going to be chopping that as fine as possible. And proceed to add that into your pan as well. You can discard the root end. And we are also going to be using a bit of some white onion. So proceed to slice your onion in half and reserve the rest. And proceed to also chop that very finely. And be sure to also always allow your onions, your garlic and your ginger to sweat in your pan. Remember, this is basically how you're really going to get those beautiful aromas and juices to flow. Next up, proceed to add your white onions. I'm going to be using half of a large white onion for this recipe. And proceed to mix everything once more. Of course, doing this at high heat. Right, so while that continues to fry, we're also going to be incorporating some of the vegetables. So for this, you're going to require 2 medium or large sized carrots. And you proceed to chop those also as fine as possible. And proceed to first julienne your carrot, cutting it into very thin, long strips. And of course, also paying very close attention to your pan. So proceed to fry everything in your pan for another 1 minute, allowing you time to chop your carrot up. Proceed to chop that fine. So very, very important to mention in the beginning as well, beans are a very, very good source of protein, also a very, very good substitute to meat. So you can actually incorporate quite a bit of beans to your dish. They are very much rich in protein, and they've got, of course, very little calories. So a very, very good idea to add those to your artillery or to your pantry. So just give that another toss. And we're just going to reserve that last piece of carrot. And now next up, we're going to finish this off by adding a few of our dried herbs. So I'm going to start that off by adding my oregano, about a teaspoon of that, and a teaspoon of some thyme. I'm also going to add a small pinch of paprika just for a little bit of heat. And just allow that to continue frying, allowing as well for your carrots to really just cook through and really just get into the flavor and get into the heat of things. And now next up, we also have a pot on the side here, which we've got some water already boiling. Now to that, we're going to be adding our pasta, but very, very importantly, always season your water by adding about a teaspoon of salt, and of course a generous dash of oil. Oil particularly really helps by ensuring that your pasta does not stick to each other. Also gives you a very, very beautiful richness to your pasta. So I'm going to be using about half a packet of spaghetti number 5. You can be able to find that in your regular retail stores. It doesn't really matter the particular brand. Yet for that, we're just going to drop those lengthways, without breaking them. You're just going to drop those in the water, and we're basically going to allow those to just cook into the water. Also, something very important to mention, always have one of this. Is actually a very, very good spoon for scooping out your pasta. And also very handy, always have a strainer. This will actually allow you to take out your pasta, rinse it very, very quickly, and allow you to continue preparing your dish. Alright, so your vegetables are now nicely colored. The carrots are nicely soft and tender. And all you're going to do at this stage is grab your baked beans. Also remember to turn down your heat completely. Remember, these come canned. They are actually already prepped, so you don't really need to cook them. It's only a matter of really reheating them. So we're going to add that to our pan. And using a slotted spoon, proceed to mix everything through. Of course, as I mentioned, doing this on low heat does ensure for you not to recook your beans or to really overcook them and get them too soft and mushy. And that's actually something you're avoiding. Right, a nice beautiful color to the beans there. We are going to incorporate just a little bit of water to actually just really give us a bit of sauce with the beans. So add a very, very small amount, anywhere between 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup. Proceed to mix once more. And at very low heat, allow your beans to just reheat. That should take you about 4 to 5 minutes to do so. And while that continues, we're also going to quickly add some herbs. Remember, herbs do really give a nice, beautiful freshness to the dish. And they actually also give you quite a beautiful color effect to it. So I'm going to start off by grabbing a small handful or a small bunch of some fresh parsley. And always proceed to begin by aligning your stalks together. Remember, you actually want just the leaves, not the stems. So always very important to just hold them up as a bunch. And once you're done doing that, lay them flat on your board. Roll them over very, very gently once to actually really get them to hold. And proceed to chop that finely. Right, so that's about a large tablespoon of fresh parsley. Add that to your beans. And using a spoon, proceed to mix through. Right, so we're just going to allow that to season really quickly. Allow just for a few minutes for your parsley to actually flavor right through the dish. And while we give that a few minutes, I'll also grab our pasta spoon here. And we're just going to begin to stir very gently. Remember, you're actually going to be able to see your pasta really cook really, really well with this particular technique. So very, very important to actually give it a nice mixture while it continues. Of course, maintaining your temperature exactly where it was. Also, a very handy thing I could share with you, when you're making pasta, always allow for quite a bit of water in your pot. You don't want to put very, very little water because you actually want your pasta to really cook and have some room to expand. So very, very important to use a big pot, preferably the biggest pot you can find. Doesn't matter if it's non-stick or if it's a heavy-based pot, but the biggest pot will always give you the best quality pasta. And you can also alternatively use some vegetable oil if you don't particularly use or you can't be able to find olive oil. It will actually also do just the same thing. So our pasta is about 4 minutes away. And our beans are now fully cooked. So at this stage, I'm going to proceed to turn my heat off completely and allow the beans to just slow down with the cooking. We are actually done with the beans now. We're now going to proceed to the pasta, but before we get there, we are going to give that another 4 to 5 minutes. From that particular stage, we are going to take them off, put them under some cold running water in the tap. So very, very important to have that. You can also alternatively use a bowl such as this or any particular bowl you may have. You can actually place some cold water in there and move your pasta directly from the pot to the bowl, and it will actually stop them from cooking. But before we get to that part, I will actually take a small break now and clear up our station. And when we come back, we're going to go to the last and final process of finishing this very, very simple dish. So please don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are with us just before the break, we are now just about done with the pasta and we're going to proceed to take this out. So as I said, very important to have one of these. They really do help you take your pasta out of the bowl. So very simply, and this is a technique I could share. I always put a bowl right underneath my strainer. That will allow for you to avoid spilling water everywhere once you remove your pasta, and it will actually also help you drain your pasta a little faster. So we're just going to lift that, making sure to allow the excess water to run off. Just to grab those last and final pieces. Now, something I could share as well about cooking your pasta lengthways, it does also give it a nice, beautiful presentation at the table. And second of all, it is actually easier to take out of your pan, so it is a very quick and easy way to make your pasta. So you may actually also find it easier to break them in half. If you're going to be serving kids, it will also actually be a little easier for them to consume. So very simply, remember we were going to rinse this, but because we are going to be serving it straight away, a very simple technique. Just drain your pasta very quickly and proceed to add to that a bit of olive oil. And using your same spoon, proceed to mix that together. And this will actually allow for you to really get a beautiful consistency of your pasta. The oil will allow for your pasta to not stick together. And once nicely, beautifully coated, we're basically going to go to the last and final stage of finishing that off. And for that, you'll need about half a stick of leek. We're going to just chop that as thinly as we possibly can. So leeks particularly bring a very beautiful buttery finish to the pasta. Also gives it a very beautiful freshness. Be sure to discard the stalks. Proceed to add those into a separate bowl. To the bowl as well, you're going to add about a teaspoon of your chili flakes and the last bit of your oregano. And you're going to proceed to add your pasta to that bowl. And proceed to give that a quick mix. So as I mentioned, this will actually serve, this particular recipe will call for about 2 average-sized portions or 1 very large adult portion. It's also a very good alternative for kids. You can also avoid to use the chili flakes if you do have kids that are not very much accustomed to having spice or chili with their food. And once mixed through, proceed to finish your seasoning with some crushed black peppercorns. And a small pinch of salt. Mix through once more. Of course, always turning your bowl around. It will also help you to mix everything up very quickly. And once done, we're going to proceed to move everything to our plate. So very simply, using your spoon, begin by working your spoon right to the bottom of the bowl, twisting as you lift once, and basically just allow for your pasta to fall in the bowl before you move it, and you can move that straight onto your plate. And now to finish that off, very simply, proceed to grab your farmer's beans, and you can just have about a ladle full right over the top. Simple as that. And just to finish that off, always also handy to give a bit of a condiment or some unpickled or some vegetable. It will actually also help to break that fat and that oil and the beautiful oils, and it will also enhance the flavor. So very simply, just grab a bell pepper and proceed to slice about three to four slices very, very thinly. You can reserve the rest. And always, very importantly, proceed to always cut out those bitter white insides. Remember, those are very unpleasant to the palate, so very, very important to take those out with a knife. And it's as simple as just cutting right through and around the inside of your pepper, and it should actually be a little more tastier to consume after that. You can also alternatively pickle this. You can also use a bit of vinegar. You can soak them in there for about 10 to 20 minutes. It will also enhance a bit of the flavor and take away the tanginess of the pepper. So just to finish that off, for the last and final piece. And once that's done, proceed to discard your trimmings, and you can actually just grab those, holding them all together, and you can use those to just decorate your plate. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my version of a very simple farmer's beans served with some spaghetti. You can actually be able to alternate some of the ingredients in the recipe. As I mentioned, there's plenty of recipes out there. So please don't be shy of trying out some of your own and maybe come up with your own variation. I think I will take this time as well to appreciate you so much for tuning in. For those of you on Facebook Live, thank you so much for being with us today. And until the next episode of Lunch Guide, where we continue to bring you some beautiful, hearty and family meals. From the studios, it's me, Chef Andy, saying goodbye for today.